The 17th of November 2023 saw a massive upheaval in the tech world. AI's poster child, OpenAI, was rocked by drama. But the plot felt like a hallucination-ridden response to a vague ChatGPT prompt. What happened and why? We don't yet know all the details, but it seems that the dust is finally settling. On Friday, the 17th of November, a few days after OpenAI's first DevDay, Sam Altman, OpenAI's CEO, received a link to an unplanned conference call. When he connected, he was faced with 4 of the other 5 board members. Greg Brockman, the chairman of the board and Sam's ally, was not invited. At this meeting, Sam was informed that he was fired and that Greg Brockman had been demoted from his position on the board, but would continue working at OpenAI. However, when the news came out, Greg quit. The press release announced that Mira Murati, the CTO, would be taking over as interim CEO. The announcement of Sam's firing sent shockwaves throughout the company, and indeed the tech world. It would turn out to be a badly calculated move that in the end backfired on the board. We'll get to that later. But first, who was on the board that fired Sam Altman? Of the 6 board members, 3 were OpenAI employees, namely Greg Brockman, the chairman and president, Sam Altman, the CEO who got fired, and Ilya Sutskever, the chief scientist. The board also had 3 non-employees. There was Adam D'Angelo, who founded Quora, the Q&A website, Tasha Macaulay, a founder of Fellow Robots and incidentally wife of Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Helen Toner, the Director of Strategy and Foundational Research Grants at Georgetown's Center for Security and Emerging Technology, or CSET. The board needed a majority to fire the CEO and remove the chairman. The remaining 4, therefore, needed to vote unanimously. This fueled suspicions that Ilya Sutskever, the single co-founder who voted to oust Sam, had initiated the process. When justifying the firing, the board stated that it was a deliberate review process by the board, which concluded that Sam was not consistently candid in his communications with them, hindering his ability to exercise its responsibilities. Or to state things more directly, they accused him of lying to them. The result, they said, was that the board no longer has confidence in his ability to continue leading OpenAI. Now, as you can see, the board has a different makeup than what you can find in most boardrooms. Why does OpenAI have researchers and scientists on its board? Unlike the other tech world darlings, OpenAI used to be a non-profit. The board's goal, as stated on OpenAI's website, is not to generate profit, but to build safe and beneficial artificial general intelligence, also known as AGI, for the benefit of humanity. Their fiduciary duty, is to humanity, not to investors. Why did the board fire Sam? There are plenty of competing theories about that. We'll go into that later. The one thing we do know is that given the board's composition and who voted, it wasn't over business reasons. After the announcement, Sam posted on X, "If I start going off, the OpenAI board should go after me for the full value of my shares." Now here Sam is being spicy. Neither he nor Greg, nor indeed the rest of the board, have any shares in OpenAI. It's very unusual for a board member to not hold any shares. This was set up to avoid the board being driven by business interests and to allow them to focus on OpenAI's mission. Or to state things differently, to serve humanistic non-profit goals rather than business-oriented needs. Because of this, the structure of OpenAI is, well, complicated enough to merit a chart on their website. As you can see, several entities can be referred to as OpenAI. The board controls the non-profit, which controls a managing entity, OpenAI GP, which controls the capped profit company, OpenAI Global. This last entity is where Microsoft reportedly invested $13 billion for a 49% stake. You'll note on the chart that Microsoft doesn't exert any control and doesn't have a seat on the board. Now, as soon as the story of Sam's firing broke, Microsoft's shares took a hit. Over the weekend, news started emerging that Sam, Greg, and anybody who so desired from OpenAI could come over to work at a Microsoft subsidiary, which would be created just for that purpose. Meanwhile, the OpenAI board appointed a new CEO, Emmett Shear, who used to head Twitch. On Monday morning, Satya Nadella, Microsoft's CEO, confirmed the news, saying, "We look forward to getting to know Emmett Shear, and we're extremely excited to share the news that Sam Altman and Greg Brockman, together with colleagues, will be joining Microsoft to lead a new advanced AI research team." That same Monday, Emmett Shear confirmed the news in a post on X. He said he accepted the job because he felt he had a duty to help if he could. However, he quickly pointed out in the same post that the process and communications around Sam's removal have been handled very badly, and announced a 3-point plan for the 30 days to come. This included first hiring an independent investigator to dig into the entire process leading up to that point and generating a full report. Second, speaking with all the stakeholders, including employees, partners, investors, and customers. And third, reforming the management and leadership team, in light of the recent departures, into an effective force to drive results for our customers. Depending on the results, he said, he would drive change in the organization, up to and including pushing strongly for significant governance change if necessary. He added that the board didn't remove Sam over any specific disagreement on safety. Now, if we suppose the board was truthful, this raises a few more questions. In particular, if Sam was not fired for business reasons and not fired for safety reasons, why was he fired? Well, first, let's look at how he was reinstated. OpenAI employees started posting on X that OpenAI is nothing without its people. Ilya Sutskever posted that he deeply regretted taking part in the board's actions and never intended to harm OpenAI, and Sam Altman retweeted with several heart emojis. While the employees posted publicly, they were also piling on the pressure internally. An open letter from the employees to the board started circulating. It accused the board of stating that allowing the company to be destroyed would be consistent with the mission. The letter concluded that the board's actions have made it clear that they are incapable of overseeing OpenAI. We're unable to work for or with people that lack the competence, judgment, and care for our mission and employees. Fighting words. Mira Marathi, CTO and interim CEO, was the first to sign. Ilya Sutskever was the 12th. Within a short period of time, 70% of the employees had signed, and then that number went up to 90%. On Tuesday, the latest interim CEO, Emmett Shear, reportedly told the board that he too would step down if they didn't provide a clear explanation and provide evidence for why Altman was fired. The board was faced with a choice: quit or see all of OpenAI's staff move to a new entity under Microsoft's umbrella. The board caved under the pressure, and Sam Altman was reinstated as CEO. Other than D'Angelo, who led the negotiations for Sam's return, the board all quit. A new board was set up, and we reverted back to how things were before. Or did we? There are still some questions, such as why was Sam fired and what is the situation now? The initial explanation for Sam's termination was a lack of candor, but that can only be part of the story. It begs the question, a lack of candor about what? Speculation arose that the firing was the result of tension between those who prioritize speed and those who prioritize caution. That theory pitted the business-minded board members against the safety-focused scientists. The fact that Helen Toner, one of the board members, published a report critical of the speed at which OpenAI had released ChatGPT added fuel to the speculation. The employees' letter also emphasized their commitment to ensuring safety. And yet Emmett Shear seemed to dismiss these speculations when he posted saying that the board didn't remove Sam over any specific disagreement on safety. Their reasoning was completely different from that, he said. And yet, if we keep reading, he continues by saying, "I'm not crazy enough to take this job without board support for commercializing our awesome models." It seems he's talking about existing commercial ventures, and ChatGPT in particular. But ChatGPT is a large language model. It might be impressive, but it's not an AGI. Were there security issues about a step towards AGI? Speaking at the conference for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation just before he was fired, Sam Altman said the following.
And on a personal note, like 4 times now in the history of OpenAI, the most recent time was just in the last couple of weeks, I've gotten to be in the room when we sort of like push the veil of ignorance back and the frontier of discovery forward. And getting to do that is like the professional honor of a lifetime.
Reuters announced that in the days before the turmoil, several staff members had written a letter to the board of directors warning of a powerful artificial intelligence discovery that they said could threaten humanity. These could both be references to a project called Q-Star that could be a breakthrough in the search for AGI. But to be perfectly honest, we don't know. The Verge stated that someone familiar with the matter told them that the board never received such a letter about such a breakthrough, and that the company's research progress didn't play a role in Altman's sudden firing. So where do we go from here, and why was Altman fired? As I've said before, we only have speculation, we don't know for sure. However, as part of the agreement for Altman's return, he agreed to an internal investigation into the alleged lack of candor with the board that led to his firing, and neither he nor Greg Brockman hold seats on the board anymore. So perhaps we'll get answers at some point, or perhaps any issues will just get swept under the carpet. And of course, Microsoft is pushing to have a seat at the table, and you'd think $13 billion would at least buy that. However, despite all these changes, the company remains a capped profit company controlled by a non-profit. So where is AI hiding? Only time will tell. So watch this space.